What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolorous has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorouscanon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
The author of the sensational international bestseller and the most compelling non-fiction publication of all time is back in London for the first time in 25 years to celebrate Chariots of the Gods' 50th anniversary. Eric Von Däniken Legacy Night. In this 2-hour special, you are invited to share with Eric his most influential discoveries and revelations. Learn about his incredible life journey as an author and researcher. Meet the team behind the highly anticipated Chariots of the Gods 360-degree entertainment franchise. Eric Von Däniken Legacy Night, live streamed from the Princess Anne Theatre, BAFTA 195, Piccadilly, London, October 15th, 2016.
The comments and views expressed on The Moore Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The Moore Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Yoel Swan, who is a spiritual counselor, mentor and coach, who has taken the understanding of the soul and the wounded feminine to new cosmic depths. Now she is a modern seer who perceives life as energy and is sensitive to other dimensions. She began channeling spiritual messages in her teenage journals and later developed a practical system of spiritual healing and energy management through more than 30 years of exploring the mind and psyche, guided by her intuitive gifts, mystical experiences, and enlightened teachers from both Buddhist and Hindu traditions. Now she shares her journey and profound insights in her new book, The Indigo Journals, Spiritual Healing for Indigo Adults and Other Feminine Souls, where she presents an in-depth view of the wounded feminine and indigo archetype, as well as her spiritual healing system to help feminine souls and anyone willing to explore their feminine side and unlock their hidden power and discover their purpose and balance an overall masculine world to bring in a new cosmic cycle of light. Yoel Swan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you for coming on. Now, today's book is The Indigo Journals, Spiritual Healing for Indigo Adults and Other Feminine Souls. What drove you to write this book? Where did the essence of this book come from?
Well, I always felt out of place, like a stranger in a strange land, both growing up and later on as well as an adult. And after going through many years of psychotherapy and many years on the spiritual path and looking for my purpose, looking for answers to why I felt different, because I perceive life as energy, and that kind of set me apart. And I had nobody to really guide me through this process. But life itself, I was kind of guided from within and to experience and meet people, meet teachers, have different types of mystical experiences and this in my self-exploration and the exploration of consciousness. And eventually, after many, many years, I realized during a painful divorce, a very deep grieving process, that I was an indigo adult expressing the wounded feminine on the planet. And that I was not alone. There were so many more like me out there. I started recognizing them in their work, whether they were dead or alive. Some of my clients were indigos as well. And others had indigo features, but not all of them. And so I kind of decided to delve deeper and start exploring more the nature of the soul and discover, the different soul types out there.
So if you could just summarize for us then, what is an indigo?
Indigos are feminine souls with certain masculine qualities. And what I mean by a feminine soul is a person who's highly sensitive, receptive, because that's the fundamental quality of the feminine is receptive, and empathic, connected to nature, connected to animals, in search of the truth, and with a different perception of life. Like it's non-cognitive. It's more like a spherical. So we see different aspects of one issue at the same time. So it's very, very, very feminine in the sense that it's very about connectivity, connection. So those are qualities of all feminine souls. And indigos have some masculine souls, masculine qualities that make us very goal-oriented and always seeking the truth, very, very much attached to the truth. We have this inner strength that comes from who knows where, that allows us to face challenging or traumatic experiences without giving up. And more than anything, we are here always seeking for a purpose. If we don't have a purpose, we feel depressed, we feel disconnected, we feel like we don't belong here and there's nothing for us to do. I always describe indigos as highly creative, sensitive, and empathic visionaries who feel like the ugly duckling in the world.
Right. And do you think this is your first, for most indigos, it's the first time they've incarnated onto this planet?
Oh no, we've been here for a very, very long time. It's just that the media portrayed the indigo children during the 70s, and we all got the idea that indigos were only children. But I think that that's when indigo souls were recognized, because we were ready to recognize that there were differences amongst us, that there was not just one soul going through the process of evolution or whatever, but that we were different types of souls with different internal wiring and a different perception of things. But we've been here for a very long time. I mean, I have memories of Atlantis, which I share in the book, and also how everything went into disarray, and we came to create this mess of a world that we have now. And I share all those things in the book to explain precisely how the different soul types inhabiting the planet now cannot necessarily agree on things, because we have a completely different perception and purpose on this planetary experiment.
Have you come across Dolorous Canons' work?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. She talks about, that there are waves of people that came into this planet that were, called upon at this time to help raise the consciousness of people on the planet itself. And, she talked about Indigos being part of this wave as well, of having been, first time onto this, planet Earth in a sense. But
Well, I believe that we've been here for a very long time. I know I have been for sure, and I once you really understand what it means to be an indigo, you can see throughout history the work and the seeds that indigos have been planting all along. What's happening now is that we are moving towards a feminine cosmic cycle because we've reached the end of this masculine cycle. And so more indigos, and not just indigos, but even more feminine souls are coming to create this shift. We need more of the feminine. We need to restore those qualities in all of us, not just these types of souls, but everyone needs to restore the feminine within and embrace their feminine qualities. So that's what's happening. The waves are of more feminine souls coming in, and in greater quantities, so that the feminine soul types that have been here for over 10,000 years are going to start fading out, moving to different planes, and other more empowered, if you will, feminine soul types are coming in to create this new cycle and shift things.
okay, where are you getting your information from as well? Where does it come from?
Well, I've been having these downloads and visions for a very long time. I actually started writing on my journals these messages that I kept getting, and that's one of the reasons why the book is called the Indigo Journals. I share some of those entries. And so it's been a process of, I would say, a lifelong process of putting all these things together through my own experience, my exploration of consciousness, the memories that came to me, the messages that I'm capable of channeling, all of that, putting it together to create this book and put those messages out there.
And what group in particular are you connecting with?
It's collective energy. I don't like to name because it varies. It's really depends. When I was younger, during my adolescence, when I started journaling and kind of channeling these messages, I had no idea. I had no idea who it was. I just knew that whatever was coming through me was comforting, and I just wrote it down and just kept it. And I didn't quite understand what the purpose or the meaning was until many many years later. And in between that, those journals and the time that I realized that I was an indigo, I've had so many experiences, mystical experiences, traveling through my past lives. I have this ability to connect to the past easily and to see the past in myself and in others. And so I had already so many experiences to hold on to try to make sense of my own life path, my own purpose here, and also why I was getting all of these messages, this information, all the stuff that I wasn't sure how to put it all together until, like I said, until I had this grieving process and I really delved into the wounded feminine, not just in me, but the wounded feminine on the planet. And that's when everything started making sense and putting all those aspects together. At the same time, I discovered this feminine masculine soul spectrum, and when I shift that perception in me of the feminine and masculine soul types and the feminine and masculine qualities, it's like everything just made sense. It's hard to explain, but it's like before then, no, I saw things as energy, neutral, moving, being exchanged and all that. But when I started really recognizing the feminine and the masculine qualities, and I mean just the spiritual qualities of energy, and the layers of energy in the soul, and all these different things that I explain more in detail in the book, then everything started making sense, including my life path, my purpose, and the world, which never made sense to me before. And that's one of the things that indigos suffer a lot. It's like, we don't understand. This is a world that does not make sense because it's so lacking in love and compassion and in community and connection. And for us, feminine souls, those are the main things that make us feel good, that makes us feel like there's a purpose here. The communication, the connection, the interaction that allows us to exchange love and our own different point of view without having to kill each other for that. You know what I mean? It's a completely different perception and vision of the world.
And how does your work with Indigos fit into the truth of other people that have looked into this as well? Does your truth fit into their type of work, or is your truth very different from theirs, if you have compared?
Well, I think that we're all sharing similar information. My work, I like to think that my work goes a little deeper, because it's not just about the main qualities or the main features. That's great when you don't know that you're an indigo and you start recognizing those features, like, oh, okay, great. I'm not crazy. I'm not flawed. I'm just different. And it's a breath of fresh air, right? But what does it really mean? You need to look deeper within. You need to really understand that as a soul, just like any cell would in the organism, you have a specific purpose and mission and wiring, like a specific information or intelligence that you're here to share and to contribute to the human community, right? So I believe that my work goes a little deeper to understand the nature of the soul, to understand how through that feminine and masculine interaction, we create what we create, and what as indigos and feminine souls we need to develop in ourselves, we need to heal in ourselves to really make that contribution that we're here to make.
Would you be surprised that the information that you've brought through is only surface level to a point where actually there's a much greater reality than what even you've been told?
Oh, I'm sure this is infinite. This is infinite consciousness we're talking about. So yeah, it goes beyond what our little mind can understand at this point. Yeah.
What gifts has your work given to you apart from the book? What gifts are you able to give to other people? Can you give readings to other people? What services do you offer? Basically, do you offer any services on your website?
Oh yes. I'm a spiritual counselor, and I have the ability to connect with my clients on a soul level. That's my innate ability, is to see through things and to perceive things in terms of energy, where it's blocked, where it's not flowing right, where there's too much of this type of energy as opposed to not enough of this other type, and so on. And so I guide my clients to create a life or business, spiritually based business they love, in alignment with their soul, in alignment with what their unique path is and what they're here to contribute. And so I have different levels of programs. I'm launching a group program this year as well, for those who cannot afford the individual sessions. And I do also energy healing or clearing, because I have that ability to channel energy and to remove the stuff that shouldn't be there. I also offer an individualized Indigo soul healing program that's just for indigos, and that's to help them look deeper within and pinpoint the aspects that they need to nurture, to heal, and how they can feel more connected, more centered, because that's one of the things that I suffer for a very long time, feeling out of place, asking like, what am I doing here? Where's my home? Because this doesn't feel like home. And so that program helps them at least feel a little bit more centered, more connected. And if they want to continue the work with me, it's a good start to shift the energy there, to shift and become aware of their main wounds, which are spiritual wounds, not just emotional wounds, but spiritual wounds that we've been carrying for a very, very long time, because we've been here for a very long time as well.
Okay. And absolutely. And what was your awakening experience, would you say? If you could define it, what would that have been?
Well, after in my 20s, after I did several years in psychotherapy, I wanted to delve deeper because, of course, psychotherapy pushed me further. I started, visiting my past lives, and I really understanding, connecting the dots there. So I wanted to embark on a deeper quest there, and I decided to go on a 3-year personal retreat. I call it in almost complete isolation. So I cut off from the external world almost completely and was just delving into my own patterns, my motivations, understanding what was going on with me, why my life wasn't the way I wanted, and also what was this thing that I had the ability to perceive, and nobody could tell me, what to do with it or how to master it, or what it was about, how it worked really. Because of course, growing up, I kind of put that aside. I pretend that it wasn't there because it made me feel awkward, right? So that time I decided to really go for it and understand where it was coming from and what it meant and what was I supposed to do with all that. And in that process, something just happened. It was like someone cracked me open and let me see the light. That's the only way I can describe that, because I was not a religious person at all, quite the opposite. I was very intellectually minded and grew up, in Mexico, which is a religious country, but always fighting any of that stuff. That was not for me, and I knew it from a very young age. But then something happened right then when I was alone, like, facing all my demons, facing all my darkness, facing all my hidden motivations, and befriending my subconscious, basically, which is the feminine. That's the divine feminine. That's where it's at right now. And so, like I said, it felt like someone just cracked me open, and then the light started coming through. And it was quite a life-changing experience.
I bet it was. I bet that was. Okay. How did you end up in the US then?
Well, after I finished with my 3-year retreat, I met an enlightened teacher from the Buddhist tradition, and I started following the spiritual path and did 40-day retreat with that. It was a Thai monk, and during that retreat, I realized, because I was ready to move to Thailand and become a nun myself, I realized that it was just a past life tendency, and that was not my path, that I needed to get out and start going into the world. I was an artist at the time, trying to promote my work, but I always wanted to do music, make music, and I was, and sing, I wanted to really discover my voice. So life just offered me the opportunity to come to the U.S. To study at Berklee College of Music, and I jumped at the opportunity and then stayed here. That was, I guess, it was my destiny, if you will.
Absolutely. No. I mean, I've always, wanted to go to the US and, to maybe move there one day a bit more permanently. But it's not so easy to get the green card. Well, not even the green card to get there, to get a visa to stay there nowadays. Even for a British person, it's very difficult. So it's always interesting to hear people's stories of how they've, found that path forward to get over there. And if we've got an indigo child. What signs would that child give off that it may be an indigo?
Well, indigos are very rebellious in the sense that they're not willing to be molded into something they're not. We kind of come with this sense that our individuality and who we are is our path. It's our main purpose, is to discover that. And even as children, we may not have the intellectual capacity to understanding any of that, but on an almost instinctual level, we're not going to let anybody kind of impose their ideas and their stuff on us. So we tend to have a hard time in school, for example, if the school is too rigid or standardized. Like here in the U.S., people have a lot of trouble with school. Indigos and feminine souls too, but indigos are more outspoken about it. Rebellious. Like we don't accept the status quo that easily. And same thing with parenting. We're not going to accept what our parents say just because they say it. I heard the other day when I was at the supermarket, a parent say, the kid asking, well, but why? And the parents, well, because I said so, right? That doesn't fly with indigos. Indigos are not going to take that gracefully, because we need to understand. We cannot take anything at face value. We need to understand. And so that makes for difficult, conflictual relationships between parents and kids if the parents are not indigos or if they're a little too rigid or authoritarian. So any kind of authoritarian environment, a restrictive environment of our freedom, of our expression, is going to create conflicts, and you see that in school, in the family, and also between, kids. Kids tend to connect to each other more easily, right? Because they're more open and they just want to experience things. But indigos, I want to make a distinction here as well that I clarify in the book. There's a difference between introvert indigos and extrovert indigos, because they're going to experience things a little differently, because introversion is a feminine quality and extroversion is more masculine. So that's going to be a little bit more, the masculine is going to be a little bit more aggravated in those. And introverts are going to feel a little bit more disconnected, more out of place, because the energy is more inward. So those are two different scenarios. Some indigo children are going to be bombastic and rambunctious, and rebellious. And other indigo children are also going to be rebellious, but in a different way, and more inward, maybe more withdrawn, maybe more disconnected and feeling more out of place. So it's not easy to just classify them just with the externals, because it's really about how they are perceiving life, how they're perceiving the world, and how they're interpreting their environment.
Right, absolutely. And what issues do you think an indigo person? Well, you've kind of answered what issues they would see in their lives. So maybe I should. You have answered that, haven't you? Really, what issues we would see in an indigo's life?
Well, I would add to what I've already said that they're going to experience, and I'm actually seeing this really intensely right now because of all the changes, energetic changes going on, and also because we're reaching this excessive masculinity in the world. And so what is clear is that indigos and feminine souls are going to suffer from things like anxiety and depression feeling disconnected, and not knowing what the purpose of what they're learning, like in school is, how to relate in a world that is, so it's so different from what we experienced as kids, because we have all this technology, right? And so now it's easier to text than to talk to each other, and so they're feeling more and more disconnected in a lot of ways, and they're also experiencing the pain of the world more intensely, because the world has become, like really intense in terms of injustice, inequality, and suffering, disasters and diseases and all of that stuff. And feminine souls are very receptive. We're very empathic. All feminine souls are empathic. I know that some people like to call themselves empaths. Well, all feminine souls are empathic. It's just a feminine quality. And we're always receiving, we're always perceiving the suffering of others and, of course, of the world, because we are connected to this planet, which is also a feminine planet, by the way. So we are receiving that, but some of us who are adults, who've had the opportunity to go through a process of growing and adjusting to all these changes and all this intensity, we may be able to handle that a little better. But younger generations, like teenagers right now, or early 20s, the millennials even, are really getting very confused and very disconnected and suffering a lot without any apparent cause. That's at least here in the U.S., the amount of people on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications it's absolutely, mind-blowing. And they're getting younger and younger taking those. Why? Because they cannot handle these energy changes, this intensity, without guidance, without someone saying, well, it's not you, there's nothing wrong with you. It's all this stuff that's going on because we are shifting. There's a lot going on. We're at this turning point on so many levels. So
well, why then why are there indigo people here now? Who are the souls that are not indigo then? And who would choose to? Why would a soul not choose to come down as an indigo to have these abilities? Or is it a case that I mean, it's probably not the case then in your understanding that the soul reawakens to becoming an indigo. They're either born indigo or not. But then, who are the souls that are not indigo then?
Well, there are different soul types. Some are very masculine souls that have been kind of controlling this world in a lot of ways, and are very much focused on the material aspects, very attached to the physical senses, very belligerent. So those are the ones promoting war and making a big business out of war, out of experimentation, controlling mass behavior. All of those guys are masculine souls, and very masculine. They're extremely masculine souls. The ones that are the worst I call martial souls, because they are basically just promoting the disconnection from the feminine, and disconnection from our true nature, from our divine nature, and focusing on experimentation. So they want us to be their lab rats, and they consider this planet their lab. So that's the extreme of these soul types. And then the other extreme are the highly feminine souls that are here to heal. They channel a lot of healing energy, loving energy, awareness, and they don't participate in the world. Those are the ones that are at the extreme. These are highly enlightened saints and teachers that, remain in caves, and they don't want to be here. Some of the light beings from a little bit of higher dimension within the planet, because this planet has many dimensions, of course, are also those feminine souls. And their purpose is to, bring in awareness and channel their knowledge, their wisdom, without participating in the world. And then between those two extremes, we have a wide variety of souls doing either creative work or more like a mothering type of feminine souls, or a more creative type of feminine souls. Indigos are very creative, and they're like in the towards the middle of that soul spectrum, because they're still feminine souls, but they are already having masculine qualities. And then we have more feminine souls coming in now. They call crystal children and rainbow children, and who knows what other labels we're going to come up with. But these are souls that are more feminine, but still participating in the world. And those are really the new soul types. Because up until now, we've had feminine souls that were supporting, upholding on some level, the masculine cycle. And now that we're turning around and moving towards a feminine cycle and moving towards fifth dimension again, we need feminine souls that are not so reclusive and not so passive. So those are the new generation. And the Indigos were kind of the pioneers in that process. So that we've been here planting seeds of change throughout the centuries to get to this point where we can, bring in more of the feminine souls and feel more like we're finally getting to fulfill our purpose, which is to take care of this planet. That was our original mission here, and be the parents of new souls that are going to bring in new cosmic light.
So as a soul then, is it your truth that we either choose to come down as an indigo, or we choose to come down something in between, or the complete opposite as complete control, as you mentioned? We have a choice of what type of awakening that we're going to have, what type of level that we're going to come in at. Would you say we get to choose that with free will?
That's not how I've been shown how this works. It's more like the consciousness splits between two main principles, the feminine and the masculine. And from those principles, are gonna be born, if you will, different sparks of consciousness, different souls. So some are already going to be wired towards the masculine, and others toward the feminine.
But who's choosing that though? Who's choosing that?
Consciousness. There's no real chooser, because infinite consciousness is the all-encompassing force or presence that chooses and creates and dissolves and plays with everything.
So I had no choice to come into the level that I've come into. I had no choice prior. You don't think?
It's not an ego choice. It's a soul choice, but it's not directed by an ego, because we are incarnated. We can only perceive things as ego. So we perceive this is my choice, my will. My path, whatever, my life, but it's really, we're just vehicles of consciousness, and it's that pure consciousness that decides what's going to go where and how, and how things are going to get played out.
I know. I would just like to think that I had, without ego, but I had some free will and some choice. I wouldn't like to think that something dominated me to say, you are now going to experience this for me, or you're going to do this. I would like to think that my truth is I have free choice before I came down here to choose, without ego, to choose my choice.
Well, it's a little tricky, because the conscious choices that we make are 90% unconscious. And so we are making certain choices while we're here. But then when we leave and we have all this karma that we've accumulated and all these desires that we haven't fulfilled and so on, those are the things that bring us back to reincarnate and go through different experiences.
With free will? With free will?
Well, the free will is at a soul level. At an ego level, it's very limited, because we are not completely aware of who we are and all the potential that lies within us. Once we start shifting and moving to a higher dimension and becoming more aware of those things and reconnecting all the aspects of our DNA that got lost, yeah, then we're going to have more free will. But right now, in this density, we need to work hard and do a lot of inner work to really make conscious choices and not be driven by, impulses and things triggering us and our wounds that are always, kind of pushing us
and that doesn't take that
direction.
Absolutely, and that doesn't take away the free will choice of having the life that we wish to manifest at all. There's no there's nothing to say you must do this. This is what you're here for. You can still manifest the life that you wish to manifest, and if that's helping people, well, that's all and helping yourself, that's great. And if it's just from a egotistic purpose, well, you'll probably be allowed to do that as well. But there might be it may not serve you as best as you think it would if you came from love from that aspect as well, with what you're looking at doing, love for yourself and love for others.
Well, right. That's how we create karma. Karma is not someone punishing us for, or someone's dictating what we're going to do and how. It's our own actions and perception disconnecting us from the flow of consciousness. And so to go back to that flow of consciousness, we need to go through the trials and tribulations that we all have to experience to reconnect, to understand ourselves better, to understand others better, to have more compassion, more tolerance, to develop and allow more love to flow through us to others. But that's what I was saying. It's not really someone dictating, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you need to learn now. It's your own soul at the level of consciousness that decides where you need to go and what you need to experience for the purpose of reconnecting to that flow of consciousness. Consciousness is always playing hide and seek with itself. And so we are the vehicles of consciousness also looking for ourselves in absolutely everything that we do and everything that we experience. And when we can put those pieces together and understand what our life is about, who we are, what we want, what we're here to do, then you can really start making choices. But before then, we act on impulse and we get triggered and we have behaviors that we don't even understand, right? That was one of the things that, propelled me to try to understand myself. Why, if I want this and I really said this is what I need, this is what I want, this is the type of relationship that I want or the type of work that I want, why do I end up sabotaging my path and sabotaging and, having the opposite result? That's why, because we have to go through all the past impressions, all the wounds from past lives, all the disconnection that we carry from the past, and try to reconnect again to that flow of consciousness.
And not everyone's prepared, ready, or wanting to go as far as you've gone with the healing. We're just not in a reality right now where people really want to go that far, are they? I mean, yes, there are some, but the greater majority I just don't see are ready for it.
Well, this is because we are going through real dark, real dense times. And so it's like swimming through molasses. It's really dense and it's really dark. If you haven't done any work before, well, it's going to be a lot harder because it's going to feel a lot denser, right? Or if you are here to experience that density for a purpose, for the purpose of evolving into a better version of yourself as a soul, it's part of your journey. Well, that's what you're going to do. And also the souls that have been here for the past 10,000 years, some of those, like I said, are going to be, leaving. They're going to be moving to different planes, to a different journey. So they're not going to be coming back anymore. And some of those are the ones that seem really dense, like they're not really getting it, right? But they need to move to other planes to learn and go through their process that they need to go through. Because their purpose on a soul level is specific, it's not, we tend to get the idea that the soul is kind of this blank slate and then it has to evolve and evolve and evolve. But from my understanding is that just like the different cells in an organism, we each have specific wiring, specific information, and specific purpose. And so we come here and we fulfill that purpose, then we move somewhere else to fulfill that purpose, and we keep growing like that, by fulfilling our purpose on a soul level. And so some of those highly masculine souls that were here to bring in this masculine cycle and have brought it to the extreme of masculinity, well, they fulfilled their purpose and they're going to start, moving out to fulfill their purpose somewhere else, because that's how the universe expands, right? And so it's not exactly that, it's not that there's some people who are not aware. It's just that that's not their purpose. But for others, it is their purpose. Like for feminine souls, this is the main purpose, to bring in that awareness, that love, that compassion, to that healing that the planet needs so much. And as we do that, because we're all connected, we start shifting also in the collective unconscious. We start affecting everything else.
Yes. And again, I've heard what you're saying from, like I say, a lady called Dolorous Canon that said exactly the same thing as you've just said there, actually, about, those that are causing a lot of the problems on this planet right now and stuck in a lot of karma will not be allowed back at a certain point. They will go elsewhere.
And it's not that they're not going to be allowed. They won't have a purpose. They won't have a purpose to come back. They're going to find their purpose somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And what, if we were able to... Okay, so basically, would you say that the masculine energy is pretty much behind terrorism and pretty much behind a lot of the negativity on this planet?
The extreme masculine energy, yeah. Because it's not just the masculine. It's when it gets to this extreme, when it's so completely attached to the physical senses that it cannot perceive anything else. So it's all about, me, and what I need. It's my power. It's the sense that, I'm the one in control. I'm the one who decides who lives, who dies, and I'm the one making the money, and, I'm the one who has the power. That's what it turns into. But it's extreme.
And some women can suffer from a lot of masculine energy as well.
Yeah, because some women are masculine souls. It's just they have a feminine body, but they can be very, very masculine. Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we're talking about the masculine energy, do you think it's a disconnection from the understanding that we are all one? That if we saw ourselves as family, we wouldn't treat each other half as bad? Do you think can you go from that perspective at all?
Yeah, because that's the feminine, the sense of oneness, of connection. That we're all one and the same, but we're each unique at the same time, just like it's the whole universe, but we have different planets with different qualities, with different purpose, right? And it's that oneness, that I call infinite consciousness. That's exactly what it is. When we work towards becoming one in ourselves, creating that sense of oneness in ourselves, we contribute on a collective level to the oneness of everything and everyone, because that's the sense of connectivity and the sense of it's the healing energy of love. Love is the healing energy of consciousness. So it's that healing that we do in ourselves through our own transformation, that we can heal the wounds in the world. So when you heal the wounds, of course, you nurture those gaps, those disconnections, and then there's more awareness of oneness. And so that's what these extremely feminine souls have been doing to kind of maintain some level of sanity, right? But as we are reaching the extreme of masculinity and turning things around, we are getting more of that sense. But it's not just the cosmic feminine cycle. It's also that we're moving back towards fifth dimension, where we fell from. And that's when we fell from fifth dimension into third dimension, we disconnected from the feminine. That's what happened. And that's what was meant to happen, because we were going through this masculine cosmic cycle. And this is a cosmic cycle within a much bigger cycle, of course, that is, the whole consciousness is one cycle within another cycle within another cycle. And so as we're moving back to fifth dimension and shifting towards the feminine cycle, we're going to start making a lot more connections. We're going to have a lot more awareness. At the same time, we're also moving towards the age of Aquarius, which is a smaller cycle, astrological cycle, which is a cycle of community. Everything is, of course, in perfect synchronicity. And so we're going to be connecting more, just like we can connect, you and I. We're not in the same place, and we can connect through this little wonderful gadget. And the internet is just an example of that. We are connecting more and more and more and more and more and more until we are going to be a true community.
And what would that planet look like? What would our daily lives look like, do you think?
Well, it's going to look very different because this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize, but with the density that we've experienced, through the process of getting where we're at now, there's been a lot of suffering, and there's been a lot of injustice, and there's been a lot of darkness. But at the same time, through that struggle, through that darkness, we've created wonderful things, wonderful art, wonderful music. So moving back into fifth dimension, it's not going to be as dynamic and colorful as we've had it, but it's not going to be as painful and as much of a struggle either. So things are going to be a little lighter, a little easier. We're going to live our life a little bit more gracefully, which is what everybody wants.
Of course,
right? We just want to be happy, have an easy life. We're going to go back there until we can reach a level of awareness, of collective awareness, to keep growing and learning. But of course, that cosmic cycle is going to continue, reach the extreme of femininity, and then go back. That's how it goes.
Right. Okay. We've talked about a lot of the issues that Indigo people have. How can we heal some of these issues now? Is that through the use of meditation and listening to our inner voice to tell us what we should do to heal them from a loving perspective? What would you explain to Indigos to help heal themselves?
Well, Indigos need to go through a process of integration. Everybody does, of course, and feminine souls definitely, because we've been very squelched and disconnected, and we've learned to not value the feminine qualities that make us who we truly are. And so it's a process of soul integration, integrating the physical with the mental, with the emotional, and the spiritual. We cannot live on intuition alone. We cannot live on logic alone. We cannot live on the physical perception alone. We need to integrate all of that. Meditation is definitely the ultimate medicine. But in this density, first of all, it's really difficult because we are continuously bombarded by lower energies and lower frequencies. So it makes it a lot more challenging, and people have a hard time with it. So the way I see, of course, I still believe that that's the ultimate medicine. Everybody needs to meditate at least 10 minutes every day, and develop that discipline. But the way that I found that it helps to develop that is by integrating, again, the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And for indigos, the best, and feminine souls in general, because we are creative, the best way is to anchor ourselves in a creative endeavor. So something creative like drawing or painting or dancing or playing music, or something that's creative that involves the senses, unlike meditation, because we're going to get there, but first we need to integrate all of these aspects. Involves the senses because we need to be grounded in our physical body. That's one of the issues for indigos. We're not grounded. We don't feel connected to our bodies. We don't feel connected to the planet. That's why we keep saying, where's my home? What am I doing here? So we utilize the physical senses to be grounded in the physical. And the creative aspect, of course, comes through the emotional expression and the mental expression. The choices, the discrimination, the choices that we make when we're involved in a creative endeavor. And as we do that, and we become completely immersed in that, then the spiritual aspects are able to flow through us. Our creative floodgates open, our spiritual senses open, the spiritual forces within us can come forth. And that's the best way to integrate all of those. And of course, in the book, I offer a variety of tools to get you there so that you can start, anchoring in your body, recognizing your body, taking care of your body through your breathing, through your daily endeavors, a more mindful way of life. Or through different activities that connect you to the earth, because that's how we ground ourselves, in the earth. Both meditations and also activities like, gardening and, pottery, things that connect you to the earth element. And also journaling, that process of emotional expression, that needs to be part of it. And of course, mental expression as well, having a purpose, having something that you feel that you are contributing to the planet and to the betterment of the world with, that engages your mental abilities and your unique vision, because we come with a unique vision, each one of us, and we each have a purpose to share that vision somehow. And so it's that process of connecting, aligning those layers of the soul that make us feel more anchored in ourselves and heal the deeply ingrained codependent wounds and dynamics that we've been, reinforcing for thousands of years that keep us wounded and spinning in the same place. That's one thing that all indigos and feminine souls need to heal. That codependency, that trying to heal your wounds through others instead of taking care of yourself. And assuming spiritual responsibility for yourself, for your reality, for everything that you feel, you think, you create, and of course you experience. But it starts there by anchoring in yourself, finding that center. And the creative endeavor, to me, it's the most powerful, magical, because then it's easier to move towards a more meditative state.
And Yol, what is your website as well, please?
My website, my business website is soulguidedcoach.com, and people can subscribe to my newsletter there, contact me through there. The book itself has its own website. It's theindigojournals.com.
Okay, well, they're both on the screen, and your book's been on the screen throughout the interview as well. So, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining us today, Yol. It's been a complete pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me as well.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.